sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out?
Welcome everybody. Ladies and gentlemen,
it's different and it's bigger than you think.
Appreciate you being here.
Rise from the ashes and fly like the
Time.
phoenix.
This is David. This is Blake Barr's partner program, the High Performance Calls. Today is January 17th. Now, I know we have people from all over the world. I want to take just kind of 30, 60 seconds, to chat about something real quick, maybe a little bit longer. Here in the United States, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is something that I know a lot of you guys could speak from a lot more experience than I have personally about a lot of elements that Dr. King was talking about during that time. And today, the last few years, I know we've faced all around the world a lot of interesting moments that were both heartbreaking and difficult, and then others that have almost become crazy with the way people are reacting to life in general. And, how we view society, not just race, but different elements of culture and then political point of views and everything else. Inside of Dr. King's most famous speech, the I Have a Dream speech, there's a lot of amazing elements. I would challenge you guys today to go listen to it. Listen to the message, read some of it. You can pull up and just look up, Martin Luther King, key points of his speech. And there are some amazing thoughts there, and they ring true as much today as they ever have. I grew up, it's interesting because, obviously he was based in the South here and I'm in Florida now, and there's a different point of view and different people all over the world have these different views. I grew up in Oakland, California, and in a neighborhood where it was about as much of a mixing, pot as you could imagine, right? My group of best friends, my best friend was a young African-American guy named Lamar Wanzo. We had a guy named Feke who was from the Pacific Islands. He was Tongan. We had a young man named Martin who was Korean. We had another boy who was from China. We had someone else that was from Greece. That was our group. Oh, and then a boy from the Philippines who I loved his family because we would all go over to his mom's house and she would make these amazing egg rolls. I just, but that was our group of friends. And then, you grow up and you start to get introduced to all of these thoughts that people have and differences and everything else. And I mean, we don't grow up with that. Most of us as kids, that's not what we thought. That's not what we dealt with. And it's not till you get older. So anyway, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in the United States. I challenge you guys to go read his speech. It is not something I can do justice to. It was absolutely, I feel inspired in so many different ways. And, when you have a speech like that, his speech, Abraham Lincoln, his Gettysburg Address, and a handful of others that truly stand the test of time. There's a reason for it. So anyway, go out and study those. Okay, that's challenge for today. And what I'll do is I'll link a couple of articles so you have the actual call or the actual speech. You can see full text, video, etc. Okay. All right. On that note, what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today, I've got a couple people have already responded. Yes. So good. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm looking to have some of you guys on. One of the key messages, one of the key difficulties a lot of people have is, how do I find myself, my voice, my message in what I'm doing? And how do I then connect that with what I have here with the partner program and helping people with their marketing and everything else? How do I connect with my audience? If you guys remember, Blake came on now a few months back. One of the questions I asked about skills and everything, one of the things he talked about was listening to your audience. Listening to your audience and connecting with your audience is essential. You have to do that, right? And the more that they connect, the better it's going to be. Now, one difficulty that people have is waiting to put out content, hoping that the content is super high quality and will connect with everybody. here's something that all of you need to remember, right? I'm going to talk about the personal branding here. We're going to talk about the attractive character, which you can find inside of, .com secrets. Russell Brunson talks about. That's absolutely where I'm pulling this from. I've got some of his, designs there, and then I'm giving you my point of view with it. But what a lot of people struggle with is, I'm struggling to find my voice. I'm not sure about putting out content. I want to make sure it's great, everything else. Quantity, you want it to be decent content. Obviously, you want to work on it, but the more you work on it, the better it will get. With that said, quantity is as important or more important than the quality. And I say that because it doesn't matter how much time that you put into the quality, how much effort that you put into it, how clear you try and get your message. And so you're only putting one out every week or something like that. Somebody's not going to like it. Okay. Someone isn't going to enjoy listening to you. Someone is going to find fault. You're going to put all this thought into writing out this amazing post. And what someone is going to comment on is the fact that you wrote loose instead of lose, or you've forgotten apostrophe somewhere, or some other nonsense, right? Because we have too many people that go through life trying to find problems with others. It's just, unfortunately, the world that we're in right now. And well, we've always been in it. It's just easier for people to now, they call it what? Keyboard warriors, sit behind the keyboard and complain, right? It's like because I read so much, and I read, a certain number of business and marketing and self-help books each month. And then I've got my, my guilty pleasures, as it were. Yeah. Grammar Nazis, my guilty pleasures that are, certain fiction books and different stuff. And so I like because I read so much, I like picking a novel that's going to let me read 6, 8, 10, 14 different books, like something that I can just kind of keep reading a story with something, right? I won't pick up a book if there's only one. I won't even bother on the fiction side. I won't do it. But I'm in some of these Facebook groups, and I think it's hilarious when readers, let's say we're all readers. Some of you guys may be authors already, and so congratulations to you. But most of us as readers, occasionally you'll see someone in these groups and they go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's taken 2 years for this next book. Oh geez, I can't believe he's taken this long. I've been waiting forever." And I saw the best thing the other day, and there's one particular author in this genre, and he's written in this one series, he's written 7 books, 7 or 8, and they've all made the New York Times bestseller, and he's done exceptionally well, and they're great books. And I can't believe he's taken 2 years to write this, blah, like it's just, taking too long, and he's wasting all of our times, and I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. And someone right below it goes, "How many bestsellers have you written in the last 2 years?" Right? Like, how fast did it take you to write 7 bestsellers? Like, get over yourself. Point is, right? Like, you're going to have people that complain either way, right? So with your content, it's not going to be a bestseller right away, guys. Don't worry about trying to make it that. Just start putting stuff out, because eventually your voice will become more common to you, which is really part of the most important thing. And then you start to connect the audience. So here's when it comes to creating your voice, this is what you're looking at. And again, you can find this inside of Russell Brunson's book, but you're looking at the attractive character. Okay. The attractive character, this is you. Okay. This is you. You've got elements that make up who you are. You have different forms of identity. So these identities here, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're not going to be all of them. Okay. You're not going to be all of them. You can, what I recommend, we're going to talk a little bit about them. You'll focus in on one, and you may at times have pieces of the others. And I'll explain what I mean by that. The storylines, these are all different versions of storylines that can be used. Obviously, there's more examples, but these are, if your posts hold true to some of these things, then you're fine. Now, if I were to do a full book, then I would include all elements that are here, all of these elements. I would include different pieces of a few of these different storylines, but I would still hold true to one of the identities. If I'm just posting on social media, well, a regular post isn't going to be long enough that's going to allow me to do all of these. But what I can do is tell pieces of these in different posts. I can weave different elements and storylines into my posts, videos, written posts, an image, whatever. Is everybody still kind of following along with me? Right? We're all good? Okay. Here's some things about and I'm going to share these slides, but here's some things about your attractive character, right? Things to think about for you personally. What challenge did you overcome to get to the point where you are today? Now, some of you guys go, well, I'm not that far advanced. Great. So we'll talk about it, but you can be kind of the reporter, the evangelist, right? So again, not every question, not every point is going to refer to every single one of you. Please understand that. Yes, we're all adults. We all get that. Good. Now, your backstory is what humanizes you. Talking about life. Okay. Quick question that I'd like you guys to give me some feedback on. Your backstory is what humanizes you. Do you remember the other day when I was talking about, let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to look for this slide. I was talking about when we're looking at the 4 most important questions, I think. So how do we include the backstory and yet not have this part where we are addicted to our struggle story? Right? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense for you guys? So how do we use our backstory to connect with our audience? And while using our backstory, how do we use it in a way where we're not becoming addicted to the struggle, where we're not holding on to the struggle too tightly? What do you guys think? How do we do both? Who is thoroughly confused out of their mind of what I'm talking about right now? Anybody? We're all, Lynn?
Hey, can I speak?
Yeah.
Are you
Chantel,
really asking, or is it a rhetorical?
No, I'm asking. Yeah, go ahead, Chantel. Absolutely.
So repeat the question. How do we?
So in the attractive character, there's this backstory, right? Who we are challenged, like what challenge we overcame, that kind of stuff. That's part of it. And then we have, this other, when I did one of the trainings last week, I said, look, you can't become addicted to the struggle, right? You can't become addicted to that story of all of the problems you had. Like I had talked about how that blanket that I held on to for years, reminding me of the problems that I had, right? So how do you utilize the backstory without becoming addicted to it?
You use it as fuel to propel you forward. So the message to your client base or your whatever is It's okay to have that struggle, and it's okay to get attached to it. But at some point, you will want to free yourself of it. And this is the exciting part. So you make it from it's okay to making it exciting and beneficial. This is like the great part about this struggle. I am so grateful, or I'm so appreciative, because that has allowed me to be this.
Right.
So you don't get stuck in it.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. Don't get stuck in it. Allow it to be motivation, kind of like Michael's talking about. Aggie, you want to, and then Kim?
Oh, yeah. So when I write about it, I try not to dominate. I actually try to use it as make myself look more human, because nobody really likes people who are superheroes all the time. You a lot of people feel like, yeah, but do you ever even go to toilet? But other thing is just like self-awareness is extremely important, right? Because you know what you know on intellectual level, but sometimes you have to really listen to yourself. And sometimes it takes you ages to understand that you still hold on to things on subconscious level, even though if you're one of these people who try to be strong all the time. So kind of take advantage of it because it makes you more human, but you still owe yourself listening to yourself on a true deep level, not to hold on to it on subconscious level. And sometimes it requires work, and that's okay. But again, that's another aspect that just makes you more human. Yeah.
Yeah. And people do connect with that backstory, right? The key is every once in a while evaluating yourself and going and looking at your content. And it's like, is my focus on that struggle, or is it on the, overcoming it? So who was it? CJ's talking about, overcoming in the Phoenix story, like I talk about from time to time, right? Like, is the struggle simply the motivation and it's burned out and you've lifted up from it, or is it still going strong and holding you? Kim, thank you, Aga. Thank you again, Chantel. Kim, are you there? So,
yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I was going to say, turn it into a lesson and focus on the success so that people can learn what you learn from it and how to get out of it themselves.
Yeah. Focus
so turn it into like a lesson.
On what was learned. Struggle. Yeah, we've all got it. What did I learn? How did it help? What did I learn? Not, consistently. And I think in essence, this connects with Dr. King's speech. Like, yeah, we've got the problems and here's the problems and we're going to overcome, right? Like, here's the dream. Don't focus simply on that negative. Keep building out. Okay. Next. Let me go back and pull this back up. All right. The attractive character. Backstory. So, what's your backstory? And it's what humanizes you. What gives your audience a reason to follow you. It shows them that you started right where they are, or that you're still on that path, right? It doesn't have to be like, look how far I've come. It can simply kind of like I was talking about, like people will get turned off if you never show any like struggle at all, right? You can be positive. Brendan Burchard, one of the most positive guys out there, but he talks occasionally about what he had to overcome to get there, right? Now, the last 20 plus years of his life have been dedicated to this positivity and motivation and everything else. But hey, once in a while, hey, here's this thing. And what you've got to understand, guys, like I think Brendan's is great. He talks about there was this car accident. A lot of you guys know the name Brendan Burchard, right? And if you don't, go study him. He's absolutely fantastic. High Performance Habits is a book from his. The Life's Golden Ticket was one. Anyway, he talks about this story when he was a teenager, really. He was in 19 and 20. He talked about this horrible breakup that he had with his girlfriend, that he was wanting to become his fiance, and he thought their lives were going to be together, and they broke up, and it broke him. And a lot of us now, like I'm in my 40s, been through a divorce. I'm like, yeah, 19 breaking up with a girlfriend, big deal. But you got to remember, like that breakup story is something that just about anyone can connect to. And he says, look, yeah, I was a kid, but at that time that was, this major life event. And then he talks about a car accident where he was in Costa Rica on this curvy road and the car went over the edge. And, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a moment when like both of his ankles were broken and all of these other things. And so a lot of us could go, well, yeah, I've had my struggle, but so many others have struggled more. Well, sure, but that doesn't invalidate yours, right? So understand that backstory has power. It just depends on how you share it. Now, forget about what this guy did later on, but Jared's backstory, right? Like all of the stuff that he did and how his life was and everything else, especially in a marketing campaign, like people connected with that story, right? For years and years and years. This guy, you recognize him. Most of you do. Hopefully every single one of you do. But look, it's Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad. His backstory, right? I had a poor dad. I had a dad that worked hard, this, that. And then I had a friend and his dad had a lot of money and I had to learn from both, right? His backstory was important, right? People start to connect. So this is not just that, but one of the reasons that from a not even a religious perspective, but one of the reasons that Christ was and continues to be one of the largest like influencers in history ever, obviously, population wise, I don't know if he would be or Muhammad or whatever. And I'm not getting into a religious debate. We're just looking at religious figures or influential figures. One of the reasons that he was so influential is because he taught in parables, right? He taught in stories. He told a story. Now, sometimes that story included a little bit of his backstory, but a lot of times the story itself involved a main character, and that character had some kind of flaw that he had to overcome, et cetera, right? It connected with the audience. The audience could connect with it. Okay. Next, I was talking about superheroes a second ago. They've got, people will like a superhero to an extent, but the reason that Captain America, Superman, all of these guys, the reason that they stand out is because occasionally flaws are introduced. They're not 100% perfect, right? Superman has his kryptonite. He's incredibly, awkward and uncomfortable for years until he finally got, had his relationship with Lois Lane. It wasn't perfect. Captain America had his issues, right? But they had a clear message, right? They fought for something, and people could understand that's why now over the last, decade and a half, whenever this new superhero movie comes out, there's always people that come in and go, oh, they better do this, because there's a clear message that person has had in the comics for the last 40, 50 years, right? Your audience wants you to have a clear message. Can you guys understand that? They want you to just be you, but hopefully start to kind of hold to this lighthouse of, here's who I am and what I'm doing, right? And occasionally, one way, some attractive characters, you're allowed to kind of bring in a little bit of polarity, right? Be firm in what you're talking about. Now, different types of attractive characters. So we've got elements, the backstory, parables, character flaws, polarity. You've got all these different storylines. I'm going to talk about some of these identities. Okay. Now, you have the leader. This is the person that is guiding the audience from one place to another. This is the Brendan Burchard, the Tony Robbins. This is, a few of you would fall into this category. Not everybody does, and that's fine, right? Or you step into this category at times, and sometimes you step away from it. That's kind of how I feel. At times I feel like I step into the leader position. Other times I feel like I'm sharing from a different perspective, and that's cool, right? You find what fits for you. But this is someone that's kind of taking you by the hand, showing you the ropes. I'm going to show you all the common pitfalls and the obstacles and everything else. And I'm also going to show you some shortcuts, how to speed things up. Okay. I've been there. I've done that. I've had this problem. I've overcome it. Let me show you how to do everything you need to follow me because I've done X, Y, Z, right? That's the leader. The adventurer crusader. Now, in my mind, most of you guys are going to fall under the adventurer crusader or the evangelist reporter. And then we have the reluctant hero. But again, adventurer crusader or evangelist reporter, I'm going to explain these. Most of you guys kind of fall under this category. And this is a way to put yourself out there without having to say, I'm the expert, I'm the leader, I've done everything, follow me, look at my stuff, I'm good. This is a way of doing that, right? So the adventure is driven by curiosity. I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to seek them out. I'm going to find them. Look, I'm willing to struggle through some of this. I want to show you guys how to overcome some of these lessons. I want to teach you the lessons that I learned during this process. Okay. But instead of where the adventurer and leader kind of differ here is, instead of standing up on the platform saying, I've already attained all of my goals, you're saying I'm in the process, I'm on a mission to uncover these secrets. I'm on a mission to attain these goals. I'm going to show you the way. Does that make sense? Can we see the difference between adventurer and leader? Okay. So the evangelist or reporter, and this I think works so well. So this is, instead of saying I'm ahead of you, I'm taking all of this on because, damn it, I've got to find the way. The evangelist is someone that's finding all the information by interviewing people and looking things up and sharing these articles. And, oh my gosh, look what I found here. And this is that and all of this, right? So instead of trying to convince your audience how powerful you are, instead of saying, look at what I've discovered, you're sharing, Brendan's message, Jim Rohn, Mel Robbins, MLK, right? Oprah, Tony Robbins, all of these other people, you're sharing their information, and that borrows some credibility. Some of you guys should start really thinking about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, right? One reason that I want to have this year, I've got a goal of having all sorts of different guests on this show, is because I get to borrow their credibility, right? When you guys interview someone else or you find some other article, you borrow their credibility. It means you don't have to be the expert. right?
Hey, Andrew, I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
say something, especially for some of the newcomers on here. Blake Newbar himself on the Facebook, if you haven't seen it, puts bloopers on there, which makes you realize, hey, you're not always in the leader position. And the second thing is, watch any Jackie Chan movie at the very end when they have the bloopers showing that he breaks his ankle, how you're not a superhero at all times. And it really makes you realize how human you really are.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something easy to remember, right? So here's an easy example, guys. Last year, end of July, we're doing this challenge about kind of pushing yourself and, bucket list challenge. One of my bucket lists was being able to talk to a certain guy, and we got him on at the end of the month, right? I got to interview Steve Sims, borrowed his credibility, right? Totally borrowed his credibility, right? Have this cool guy on who works with billionaires, who does all of this cool stuff. I got to interview him, right? So I got a little bit of exposure because of that. One of the key elements that he talked about, what did he say? When you start anything, it's going to be shit. Be okay with that.
You're going to suck.
You're going to suck. Yeah. That was the verbatim quote from Steve, right? You're going to suck. It's going to be shit. Like, be okay with and understand that there's a process to this. You will get better. But share that with your audience, right? You don't have to be. A lot of you guys are worried about putting stuff out there because I'm not Brendan or Blake or whatever yet. Okay, don't be. Share the info, right? So that's why I say a lot of times it's easier as kind of the evangelist or reporter to go out and do this than trying to be the leader. Yes? So the reluctant hero, shy, doesn't like all the hype, rather be behind the scenes of it all, minding my own business. I understand the secret you discovered is powerful, though. And it has the potential to change lives. So I'm going to kind of share this, right? Out of a sense of duty. So this may fit some of you as well, but you can use the reluctant hero intermingled with any one of these things, I think. Right? Making sense? Everybody here? Yes? Good. All right. You're combining your attractive character, your mission, and your vision. Now, I'm going to wrap this up for today. I'm going to give you these slides. If you would like to go further into mission, vision, all of this stuff, you can. I'm going to be going over it over the course of the next couple of days because I think it's important. Now, the elements that I'm giving you, I want to be real clear. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to have some of you guys on. Some of you have already responded. We have some of you on tomorrow and Thursday. I'm going to have an amazing guy on Wednesday. But we're talking about this vision and branding and your mission statements. It's not necessary to launch. As a matter of fact, it's not fully necessary to get yourself going, right? I'm giving you additional content around branding and building an actual company because I know some of you are going that route. And these are business fundamentals, right? You guys have all been at some business where they go, here's our company mission statement. They've got it on the wall. Here's our vision statement. And some of you guys have said, what the hell's the difference between a mission and a vision statement, right? Why is this important? Why, right? But honing in on some of these elements, in my mind, it helps me, and occasionally I get questions about this, it helps me when it comes to what type of content do I want to put out? Who do I want to work with, right? I get an offer to work with certain individuals, certain companies. It's helped me say yes to some. It's helped me say no to others, right? It's helped kick me in the ass when I needed it, when I knew I needed to do a little bit more, and where I went, hey, this is my mission. This is my vision. This is what I want to do. I better get myself in gear, right? So this is why I'm going to be sharing this. If going through the mission and vision is confusing for you over the course of the next few days, because I'm going to be giving you worksheets and I'm going to give you these slides, and there's a hell of a lot of information there. If it's confusing, it's okay. Bring questions. I'm going to give you these slides in the Skype group here in just a minute. If you want to get more out of the calls tomorrow and Thursday, especially, do a little homework ahead of time, and it will be beneficial. Some of you guys got some of these trainings, a few months ago. And if you did any of it, or if you didn't, maybe this time you will a little bit, it can be helpful. Okay. So I'm giving you guys something here that I've spent time and money trying to learn, and marketing companies. This is all right. I'm going to wrap this up and then I'm going to stop recording here because I want to tell a quick story. So that's what we've got. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am going to have a couple of you guys on sharing your 5-minute, like your expert thoughts.
Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet.
Wednesday, we
Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think.
Rise from the ashes.
Okay.
Fly like the
So,
phoenix that you are.
awesome. Appreciate that.